Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, May 25th. I'm Laura Cornfield, and this is IBA News broadcasting from Jerusalem. After days of political wrangling, an agreement has been reached between the Likud and Yisrael Beitenu parties, paving the way for Avigdor Lieberman to join the coalition and become the country's next defense minister. The deal was officially signed this morning following a long night of talks between Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Yisrael Beitenu head Avigdor Lieberman, and Finance Minister Moshe Kahlon. The sides reached agreement over the pension reform, which was the main stumbling block. According to the deal, 1.4 billion shekels will be transferred to fund the reform, which will be used to serve all of Israel's senior citizens and not just immigrants from the former Soviet Union, as initially conditioned by Yisrael Beitenu. Even though the deal was sealed this morning, Lieberman is only expected to be sworn in at the start of next week, pending a Knesset vote. Along with Lieberman's appointment as defense minister, Yisrael Beitenu MK Sofa Landver is slated to resume the role of immigrant absorption minister, a post she previously served for nearly 6 years between 2009 and 2015. Speaking at the signing ceremony in the Knesset, both Netanyahu and Lieberman stressed their commitment to Israel's security and pledged to pursue new opportunities for a peace deal with the Palestinians.
My government remains committed to pursuing peace with the Palestinians, pursuing peace with all our neighbors. My policy has not changed. We'll continue to pursue every avenue for peace while ensuring the safety and security of our citizens. I believe the developments in the regions have created new challenges for us all, but I also believe that they've created new opportunities for peace, and I intend to seize those opportunities. A broader government, a more stable government, will make it easier to do so.
My intention to provide security, and of course, all of us, we have commitment, strong commitment to the peace, to the final status agreement, to the understanding between us and our neighbors. And I hope to be also very cooperative and efficient in this direction. Thank you.
Despite its slated expansion, the new 66-member coalition continues to face challenges from within. The Jewish Home Party, headed by MK Naftali Bennett, is so far not backing down from its demand to conduct a major reform in the work of the Security Cabinet. Bennett is conditioning his support of expanding the government on this issue, urging that members of the Security Cabinet be better briefed on military matters and insisting that a military secretary be appointed to head the forum. The annual State Comptroller's report was officially submitted to the Knesset Speaker yesterday, causing a stir in the local political scene and once again raising questions of possible corruption. IBA's Elon Aslan-Levy has that story.
Ministry of Foreign Affairs had no broad long-term strategy that included vision, achievable goals and concrete targets. This, according to the latest annual State Controller's report, formally presented to the Knesset Speaker yesterday, with 53 chapters criticizing government mismanagement and raising questions of possible corruption. The State Controller, retired Judge Yosef Shapira, accused the Prime Minister of structurally weakening the Foreign Ministry by needlessly duplicating its tasks among other ministries or truncating its authority. The report recommends, for example, that responsibility for the fight against boycott efforts be transferred back into the Foreign Ministry from the Ministry of Strategic Affairs and that the Foreign Ministry budget be increased. Israeli diplomacy and Israel's international image have taken a serious hit, he says, as a result of interministerial turf wars and the failure to effectively coordinate policy. The report also raised questions about the Prime Minister's personal conduct, which have been drawing media attention away from the more substantive questions of governance. These allegations concern the Bibi Tours affair regarding possible improper receipt of benefits and conflicts of interest concerning foreign trips during Netanyahu's tenure as finance minister from 2003 to 2005. The controller says that Netanyahu's conduct raises suspicion of double billing and the diversion of funds, including the use of state-owned frequent flyer points, use of public funds for private trips, and donations by foreign businessmen to fund flights for his wife and sons without proper approval. Certain issues could not be explicitly addressed in the report, said the controller's office, lest they prejudice an investigation by the Attorney General. The Prime Minister, for his part, has rejected the Bibi Tour's allegations as a mountain that turned out to be a molehill. In a statement, his office alleged double standards, complaining of a feeling that there's one set of laws for Netanyahu and another set of laws for the rest. The statement notes that the Attorney General determined there was no cause to open an investigation in 2013 and insists that there is nothing improper to be found. The controller insists, however, that new evidence has since been presented to Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit since his predecessor, Yehuda Weinstein, closed the file. The Prime Minister also took aim at the media, accusing it of producing radically biased coverage in an attempt to damage the Likud government, having failed to do so, he alleges, at the polls. There has yet been no official response to the content of the other points raised in the report. This is Eilan Aslan-Levy reporting for IBA News.
Joining me now in the studio is attorney Michael Parham of the Movement for Quality Government. As always, thank you for joining us, Michael.
It's a pleasure.
Now what? The comptroller's report was made public, a few headlines in the media, and then what happens? Is there any actual steps that can be taken?
Unfortunately, for the most part, not much happens, and we see criticisms repeat themselves year after year because there is not enough implementation of the comptroller's report. One of the things the Movement for Quality Government does is try in the period after the report, or in fact, for the entire year, to follow up on the recommendations of the State Comptroller and see how we can help promote their implementation.
Michael, the Prime Minister's conduct may be somewhat distasteful, but is it criminal?
Well, that remains to be seen. Actually, an important part of the report is what's not there. And what's not there are the new pieces of evidence which have reopened an investigation into activities, more recent activities, that raise the suspicion of corruption and of the violation of the law.
Why is it taking so long? I mean, these are charges relating to 2003, 2005, 9, 10 years ago. Why now?
Well, the Prime Minister has complained of a double standard when it comes to him. Of course, as Prime Minister, he attracts a lot of attention. But the standard is actually a reduced standard when it comes to investigation, because we're talking about a 2016 report about activities in 2003, 2005. I think that is unusual. It shouldn't be. The reports have to be timely, and that makes them more effective. So when we defer to the period of 2003, 2005, really it's interesting, it's important. It reflects on what's happening now, but I think what will be of more interest in the coming period is what's going to be uncovered by the Attorney General and what has been happening lately.
Does the justice system have too big of a role in determining the fate of our leading politicians? Do we need a separate body to take care of these allegations?
The State Comptroller performs an extremely important function. You know, he's also receives complaints by the public as to government malfeasance, and we're often in a situation of working closely with them. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a lot of teeth, so it's not really a redundancy. It's more a matter of one body who is supposed to be neutral, in fact, to try to uncover government mismanagement and try to improve government mismanagement with a set of recommendations. They're not a body that can prosecute anybody. They have limited investigative powers. When something is uncovered that it borders on the potential of illegal activity, he sends it over to the Attorney General. So it's the Attorney General. In this case, once again, the Attorney General in 2013 shut down an investigation, dragged his feet, was unwilling to really pursue it in a dogged manner, and unusually, and this is unusual, the State Comptroller has forced the Attorney General to reopen the investigation, has provided him with new evidence. So it'll be very interesting to see what's going to come out in the next few months.
Does the report have any political implications?
Well, you know, we've seen Israel that we are willing to prosecute offenders no matter what office they hold, be they the Prime Minister, one currently serving in jail, or President, another former president is in jail now, the Treasury Minister. In other words, when severe crimes are uncovered, be they by the Prime Minister, I think the public expects and the prosecutorial authorities are willing to pursue justice. So in that respect, it may have an impact. These things right now don't appear to be very threatening. The acceptance of gifts, as the controller points out, is an unfortunate norm under the circumstances which have been revealed in the report. On the other hand, again, if there's more than that, and if there are serious crimes, that could threaten the Prime Minister.
Michael, one last quick question. What is your movement, the Movement for Quality Government, doing to stem out corruption?
Well, as I said before, it's a constant battle. It's a struggle that goes on 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And I think we just must be eternally vigilant. So, and this is really a good case. We just last week won an unpublicized case in the Supreme Court dealing with the implementation of controller's special reports. We are constantly working on trying to have the positive recommendations of the state controller implemented, and we have staff and volunteers that will continue to do so, despite the setbacks which we may encounter.
Thank you so much for being with us this evening, Michael Pardon.
It's always an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. The Knesset today celebrated 100 years of relations between Israel and American Jewry at the initiative of Zionist Union MK Nachman Shai, who also co-chairs the Knesset's caucus for strengthening the Jewish people. The day was marked with a series of events, including a debate on U.S. Jewry as a strategic asset for Israel's security. Different Knesset committees discussed the contribution of the American Jewish community to Israel, addressing the absorption of U.S. immigrants and educational enterprises. A ceremony attended by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Knesset Speaker Yuli Edelstein, opposition leader Isaac Herzog, as well as the head of the Jewish Agency and U.S. Ambassador to Dan Shapiro, took place at the Knesset's Chagall Hall. On display is a photo exhibition titled Stripes, Stars, and Magen David, featuring examples of the U.S. Jewish community's commitment to Israel in an array of fields, ranging from education, medical and social services to financial support and political lobbying.
There's no other Jewish community in the entire world that has done so much in order to help Israel and in any given moment. In our entire history, the American Jewish community has always been there to help, to support, and to sometimes even to save Israel. So on that, we would like to thank them very much for the entire day.
It's very important for me to be here to learn. It's a great opportunity to listen, to express some views, and I really appreciate the fact that this dialogue continues.
Right now, the state of Israel, with the government's policies and the Knesset, is just pushing away American Jewry. I don't see a thank you at all. So I called on the Knesset and the government to not just say thank you, but to actually reach out on issues of religion and state and accept them as Jews and let them feel comfortable as Jews in a Jewish state. If we do that, then we can say thank you and we can celebrate. But until then, we have a lot of work to do.
Security forces arrested 21 suspected Palestinian terrorists in large-scale overnight raids in the West Bank. 10 were arrested in the village of Kafar Adik in Samaria, where IDF forces also seized guns, ammunition, and military uniforms. The army said the 10 were involved in violent demonstrations and rock throwing. Minister of Public Security Gilad Erdan says he is halting the return of the bodies of Palestinian terrorists to their families after an East Jerusalem funeral conducted earlier this week violated the understandings reached with the Israeli authorities. Video footage posted on Facebook of the funeral procession for Ala Abu Jamal, a resident of Jabal Mukaber, showed a large crowd chanting slogans and his body carried aloft. This in violation of an agreement that only a small number of people attend the funeral, which was agreed to have been conducted after dark. On his Facebook page, Erdan called the footage outrageous, saying the large number of participants called for violence and support for terrorism. Jamal was shot dead by security forces last year after he rammed his car into a bus stop and then hacked a 60-year-old Israeli man to death. The human rights group B'Tselem is accusing the army of whitewashing and says it will no longer refer complaints of alleged abuse on behalf of Palestinian victims to the army or police for review. In a report released today by the group, dubbed the Occupation's Fig Leaf, the organization says it refuses to be part of a whitewashing machine that absolves senior military and government officials of responsibility. It went on to say that it will continue to document human rights violations, but will no longer submit complaints to the Israeli authorities. The organization noted, however, that if asked by Israel to supply video footage documenting alleged violations, it will honor such requests. Well, preparations are well underway for tonight's celebrations of the Bomer holiday. Thousands are getting ready to light the traditional bonfires, as we hear in this report from IBA's Ari O'Sullivan.
Marking the passing of rabbinical sage Shimon Bar Yochai, hundreds of thousands of revelers have been converging at his tomb on Mount Meron in the Galilee. Large pray-ins are being held amid singing and dancing and probably drinking. Police have shut all roads to the mountain to private vehicles, but thousands of buses have been ferrying people there. Crowds are so thick that medical personnel is on hand to deal with the humanly crammed conditions. Thousands of police are deployed at the site to maintain the order amid the festivities. Dozens of cameras will be monitoring the events. Bonfires are lit to commemorate the immense light from the teachings of Shimon Bar Yochai. The Jewish National Fund has announced that no bonfires will be allowed in the nation's forests. And in the cities, the traditional neighborhood bonfires will only be allowed in sites designated for the pyres. The fire department says it has beefed up forces tonight to deal with the extra calls to put out fires. Chag Sameach, Ari O'Sullivan for IBA News.
Bank Leumi plans to downsize its workforce by some 10%. In a step to improve its operating efficiency, the bank is preparing to slash some 1,000 jobs over the next year. The bank plans to offer voluntary redundancy packages to some 1,000 workers at a cost of some 500 million shekels. The 5-year plan presented by the bank has yet to receive the approval of the bank's workers' union. Backed by popular demand, the annual Jacob's Ladder Music Festival was held this weekend on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. The largely Anglo shindig is a unique musical smorgasbord ranging from bluegrass to blues, Irish jigs to folk and country, and rock. IBA's Ari O'Sullivan and cameraman Barry Levinson were there and captured some of the sights and sounds.
And in the den you go, right and left, ho, now you can jump up and down.
Thousands of music lovers arrived at Kibbutz Ginosar over the weekend at the Sea of Galilee to take part in the 40th annual Jacob's Ladder Music Festival. While Jacob's Ladder is known as the Anglo Festival, event organizer Yehudit Vinograd said that the 3-day shindig was drawing more and more second and third generation Anglo Sabras.
And many of the young people who come have got some connection in the family, somebody who's from an English-speaking country, and that's what brings them along. But they're also native-born Israelis with no Anglo-Saxon connections, and they love it too.
Music of all styles and all tastes was the focus of the event.
It's a festival that sometimes it feels like you're leaving the country without having to leave the country, but it's in the country. And it's very Israeli as well. It's fantastic. It's a great mixture of many cultures.
The festival boasted 3 main stages, but also pockets of impromptu jamming sessions that kept their spirits high and folk music alive. Ari O'Sullivan for IBA News.
Oh, rub your eyes. This is not Paris, these pictures, but downtown Jerusalem, where a miniature replica of the Eiffel Tower has been erected. The French landmark is part of festivities marking the annual Jerusalem International Festival of Light that starts today and continues until June 2nd. During the festival, the walls of the old city will be illuminated, emphasizing the ancient architecture. There will also be a series of street performances, all of which are open to the public and free of charge. In local money matters, shares were up on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, while the shekel was mixed in foreign currency trading. Here are the late afternoon numbers. Tomorrow there'll be a significant rise in temperatures, but forecasters predict a drop again on Friday. Here are the highs and lows. And that's all for this newscast.